The smoke and fire of the human world are the most soothing to the hearts of ordinary people. At the age of 82, there is no ancestral temple. 69 years of worries. The world is difficult, long life is not easy. A dream of reversing yin and yang, the next life. Still begging. Name. Lu Chen, identity. Master of Changchunguan Temple, cultivation. Nun skill. Immortal Changchun skill, can be upgraded. Plus, spell. Sword control, upgrade conditions can be activated. Expand. Upgrade. PS, upgrade, easy, cultivate immortals, demons, ghosts. Keywords of the novel. Left path immortal, my spell unlimited upgrade without pop-ups. Left path immortal, my spell unlimited upgrade complete collection download TXT. Left path immortal, my spell unlimited upgrade latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Changchunguan Master, future promising. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 1 Changchunguan Master, future promising. At the age of 82, there is no ancestral temple. 69 years of worries. The world is difficult, long life is not easy. A dream of reversing yin and yang, the next life. I beg for it. In the afterglow of the setting sun and the rustling autumn wind, during the reign of the Dahao Emperor, in the Changchun Temple, the Qinyan Taoist with white hair and desolate hair, remained steadfast in his original intention, howled 3 times and passed away suddenly. Lu Chen woke up leisurely on the bed, wiping away tears from the corners of his eyes, and said sorrowfully. It's been 3 days. After traveling for 3 days, Lu Chen felt confused, but only slightly improved today. Recalling the past and his predecessor, he drank a bowl of herbal tea and turned his head to look around. View or that view? A few houses, a 3-acre courtyard, mud walls and green tiles, a young man in thin clothes. So, how did the original owner die? Lu Chen frowned slightly, only remembering that after the original owner secretly cremated the Qinyan Taoist, he returned to the Taoist temple with his ashes in his arms. As soon as he opened the door, a black shadow suddenly pounced and he lost consciousness. Ghost shadows. Or is it an evil law? Lu Chen sat up slightly straight, searching for past memories, but still had no harvest. Let's forget about it for now. Lu Chen shook his head, reached out a little in front of him, and a curtain of light appeared out of thin air. Name. Lu Chen, identity. Master of Changchunguan Temple, practice. Nun, spell. Nun, spirit root. Pseudo-spirit root, fist technique. Mastery of spring revival fist, upgrade conditions can be activated. Pseudo-spiritual roots, Lu Chen murmured, somewhat bitter, saying that what sounds good is a pseudo-spiritual root, and what doesn't sound good is a non-spiritual root. Without a spiritual root, it is not impossible to cultivate, but there are difficulties. It is necessary to first open the spiritual orifice, in order to accept non-attribute spiritual energy into the body, and for people with spiritual roots, the spiritual orifice is innate. It's both difficult and easy to open the spiritual opening. There are people who rely on the mountain. You only need one enlightenment pill, or have your elders use one type of spirit opening technique. If it doesn't work out, you can have a chance encounter. By chance, many people accidentally open their spiritual orifices. Unfortunately, the original owner had nothing. Even Master Qinyan, a Taoist, is only a half-hearted person who can practice qi at 3 levels and cannot use the spirit opening technique. Fortunately, I can upgrade. Lu Chen smiled slightly and pointed to the 5 words, Mastery of Spring Revival Fist. Suddenly, a light curtain extended from below. Upgrade conditions for Spring Revival Fist. 1/2 day of practicing boxing, not achieved. 2. A spirit, not achieved. 3 10 taels of silver, not achieved. 3 conditions. Lu Chen felt lost in thought. It was easy to practice martial arts for half a day. With the foundation of Qingyun Temple, 10 taels of silver was also simple. However, he didn't know how to calculate his soul. It would be a bit troublesome to kill someone. If animals are also included, it will be simple. Qingyun Temple covers an area of 3 acres, and apart from him, he is a lonely family with more than 10 chickens, ducks, and a live pig. Lu Chen ran out of the room excitedly, picked up a short knife at the door, and headed straight to the duck circle in the southeast corner. This short knife was still a loot left by the robbers when they attacked the city 3 days ago. He is located in the northern region of Yulwan Prefecture in the Dehao dynasty. Fengxian Town. At the end of the imperial dynasty, the world is in turmoil, with internal and external troubles, and even demons causing chaos. Ghosts and monsters are showing off their ferocity. 3 days ago, the garrison of Fengxian Town went to besiege a group of robbers near Dian Mountain. I didn't expect it. The group of robbers received news in advance, and the leader, Wu Daoran, took advantage of the situation and directly led his troops to attack Fengxian Town, plundering, burning, killing, and looting. If the town soldiers did not return in time, the entire Fengxian Town would be destroyed. The Qingyun Taoist died in that battle. Gaga, Lu Chen's momentum was fierce, causing more than 10 ducks to scream in panic. Without hesitation, he jumped into the duck pen and reached out to grab the slowest one. He also took a pottery basin and wiped it with a short knife. Pushi. A knife cut open the duck's neck, and when the duck stopped struggling, the light curtain in front of him trembled lightly, finally changing. Upgrade conditions for Spring Revival Fist. 1/2 day of practicing boxing, not achieved. 2. A soul, reached. 3 10 taels of silver, not achieved. Okay, that's great. Lu Chen was overjoyed and casually threw the dead duck to the ground. He quickly walked to the middle of the courtyard and enthusiastically put on his posture, starting to practice the Spring Revival Fist. Adjust breathing. Sitting on a horse with a heavy waist. Hey, drink, raise your feet and punch. Punching and kicking. Rolling and moving. The more you play, the more proficient you become, and the more enjoyable you become. Wave the pipa with your hand. Step on the bird's tail. Hey, ha, the Spring Rejuvenation Fist that the original owner had practiced since childhood gradually merged with Lu Chen's body, until he was tired and panting, and hungry with stars in his eyes. Lu Chen was willing to stop and hastily made a pot of stewed duck meat and ate 3 large bowls of rice. Started practicing again. It was not until noon that the conditions for practicing martial arts for half a day were finally met. Lu Chen washed his face and walked quickly into the room, holding a short knife. He dug open a stone brick under the bed and took out a rectangular object. Opening the coarse cloth wrapped around it, a wooden box emerged. This wooden box is slightly wider than the sword box. All the relics left by Master Qingyun Daoist are in full bloom. Open the wooden box, and the most prominent one is a 3-foot 2-inch peachwood sword. This sword is the only magical tool of the Qingyun Taoist, said to have been refined from peach wood for 500 years. It can ward off evil and exorcise ghosts. At Jianyi, there are 4 tadpole-like patterns. Next to the peachwood sword, there are 3 yellowed books, a delicate small jade bottle, a letter, and in addition, a small pile of scattered gold and silver. Lu Chen counted it. I found a total of 50.5 taels of silver and 3 taels of gold. He held 10 taels of silver in his hand, and the light curtain in front of him suddenly trembled, causing a change in the data panel. Upgrade conditions for Spring Revival Fist. 1/2 day of practicing boxing, achieved. 2. A soul, reached. 3 10 taels of silver, achieved. Name. Lu Chen, identity. Master of Changchunguan Temple, practice. Nun, spell. Nun, spirit root. Pseudo-spirit root, fist technique. Mastery of Spring Revival Fist, can be upgraded. Plus, upgrade. Lu Chen was slightly excited and extended his hand slightly behind him. With a shiver all over his body, he felt a refreshing aura rushing straight to his forehead. In an instant, a little person appeared in his mind, practicing the Spring Festival fist in one move after another. Lu Chen felt as if he was there, and his understanding of Spring Festival fist became even deeper. Pai Li Pa, his body made a series of loud noises. The fist became harder, the limbs became more powerful, the body became stronger and longer, the complexion became more rosy, and at the same time, a trace of strength began to be generated in the body. Lu Chen felt comfortable all over, wishing he could shout a long cry to the sky. When he regained his senses, the original owner had been using the Spring Revival fist, which had been standing still for 3 years. It is already a great achievement. De Cheng. De Cheng. The upgrade feels so great. Lu Chen took a long breath and gradually calmed down. With a wave of his hand, he felt that he had already gained 200 pounds of strength, which was already impressive. He looked at the light curtain and gently reached out his hand. Upgrade conditions for Spring Revival fist. 1 day of practicing boxing, not achieved. 2. 5 spirits, not achieved. 320 taels of silver, not achieved. We still need to continue working hard. Lu Chen grinned and turned his gaze to the 3 books in the wooden box. The names of the 3 books were Spring Revival Fist, Qi Practice Technique, and Su Nu Mi Dao Jing. P.S. Cute new book, seeking support, whimpering, end of this chapter. Chapter 2. Promotion and Ranking. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Promotion and Ranking Proficiency Level is divided into Beginner, Proficient, Successful, and Complete. Spells are divided into 3 levels. Normal, Authentic, and Secret. This Spring Revival Fist is just an unremarkable ordinary level, and Lu Chen is already able to recite it backwards without even needing to look through it. He picked up the book, Practice Qi Technique. After carefully flipping through it, I found that the Qi refining technique is also a regular level skill, but its level is 1 level higher, belonging to the first level Qi refining realm. The last few pages also record 2 spells. One is called Sword Control. One is called Round Light Technique. However, he lacks spiritual energy and is currently unable to cultivate. Putting down the Qi cultivation technique, Lu Chen picked up the Sutra of the Pure Maiden's Secret Path. At the beginning, he saw it read. The clothes are untied and the golden powder is worn, and the pillow is shown in a picture. The Pure Maiden is my teacher, and her demeanor is abundant in all directions. That's right. This is a serious dual cultivation technique. This Lu Chen recalled the usual serious demeanor of the Qingyun Taoist, suddenly feeling a bit speechless and a bit out of sync. Okay, I'm ignorant now. Lu Chen carefully flipped through it, put down the scriptures, and looked at his own data. Name. Lu Chen, Identity. Master of Changchunguan Temple, Technique. The Qi practice technique has not been introduced yet, upgrade conditions can be expanded, the Sutra of Pure Women's Secret Path has not been introduced yet, upgrade conditions can be expanded. Spell. Nun, Spirit Root. Pseudo-Spirit Root Fist Technique. The ultimate achievement of the Spring Revival Fist, upgrade conditions can be expanded. Expand. Expand. Lu Chen clicked twice in a row, and the upgrade conditions for both martial arts are outlined below. Upgrade conditions for Qi refining technique. 1. Practice diligently for 100 days, 0 out of 100 not achieved. 2. 10 spirit sands, 0 out of 10 not achieved. Conditions for upgrading the Sutra of Pure Women's Secret Path. 1. 1 layer of Qi cultivation, not achieved. 2 1 Taoist couple, not achieved. 3 double cultivation 10 times, not achieved. Surprisingly, there's no need for an enlightenment pill. Chen felt lost in thought. He picked up the porcelain bottle from the box, pulled out the cork, and saw that it was filled with colorful sand grains, which were undoubtedly spiritual sand. He counted out and found a total of 32 spirit sands. In this way, the second condition of the Qi practice technique has been achieved, leaving only 100 days of diligent practice. In this case, with just a little effort and no accidents, one can become a true Qi practitioner in 100 days. Moreover, after several observations, Chen has confirmed that the upgrade conditions appearing on this light screen are actually the easiest conditions he can achieve. Unfortunately, it's been too long. Someone used a suspected evil method to kill the original owner, so Chen naturally couldn't sit idly by. Otherwise, when he slowly stepped into the Qi cultivation realm, his body might have already decayed. So, the focus of this cultivation should still be on upgrading the Spring Revival Fist. Open the last envelope. Chen saw a handwritten letter from Taoist Qingyun and a hexagonal token. The letter is used to prove Chen's identity, and the token is the external disciple order of Changchun Valley. If one day he can step into the Qi refining realm, he can take the token and letter to Changchun Valley to obtain an external disciple identity. Like a teacher, like a father. Chen sighed and put away his things. He walked out of the room and slaughtered 5 ducks, seizing the time to continue practicing boxing. From noon to the scorching sun slanting westward, and then to midnight, Chen finally completed the conditions for practicing martial arts for a day. He immediately took 20 taels of silver, and the light curtain in front of him trembled again. Name: Chen, Fist Technique. The great achievement of Spring Revival Fist, upgradable. Plus, upgrade. The bones exploded, and by the time Chen regained his senses, the Spring Revival Fist had reached its perfect state. With nearly 300 pounds of force, the light curtain in front of him changed once again. Name: Chen, Fist Technique. The Rejuvenation Fist is perfect, the promotion conditions can be expanded. Promotion. Expand. Rejuvenation Fist Promotion Conditions. 1. 1 Spirit Sand, not achieved. 2 10 pounds of flesh and blood, not achieved. Upgrading has become advancing, and there is no need to practice martial arts anymore. Instead, it requires spiritual sand and flesh and blood. This is quite simple. Without delay, Chen quickly took out a spiritual sand and brought 3 dead ducks, and the data changed instantly. Name: Chen, Fist Technique. The Spring Revival Fist is perfect, can advance. Plus, advance. Chen took a deep breath and immediately clicked towards, plus. Brush. Ling Sha and the duck disappeared out of nowhere, and Chen's bones made a loud noise. Then, his muscles began to wriggle, drilling back and forth like a little mouse. It wasn't until 4 or 5 breaths later that it gradually calmed down. Unbelievable. Chen moved around and found that his height had increased by 3 inches, and his strength was close to 400 pounds. At the age of 16, he was a young man with youthful vigor, and his every move and gesture had reached a certain level of adult demeanor. The light curtain in front of me suddenly shook, and when it stabilized, the data changed dramatically. Name: Chen, Fist Technique. Proficient in Changchun Fist, upgrade conditions can be activated. Changchun Fist upgrade conditions. 1 day of practicing boxing, not achieved. 2. 5 spirits, not achieved. 3 20 taels of silver, not achieved. Upgrade conditions for Qi refining technique. 1. Practice diligently for 90 days, 0/90 not achieved. 2 9 spirit sands, 0/9 not achieved. The Spring Revival Fist has become a thing of the past. Promoted to the authentic level of Changchun Fist, due to its continuity, it was initially mastered. In addition, there have been new changes in the Qi cultivation technique, and the requirements in all aspects have been lowered. The future is promising. It was already late, and Lu Chen suppressed his excitement in his heart. He quickly went to bed with his peach and wood sword in his arms. The next day, when the sky was dim, he got up again to continue his cultivation. Time is like passing water, light is also in a hurry. In the blink of an eye. 3 days have passed. For the past 3 days, Lu Chen closed his observation door tightly, focused on practicing boxing, and never left. During this time, someone knocked on the door several times, but Lu Chen only observed secretly and ignored it. Among them, there are 2 groups of soldiers, and the other few groups are people who are seeking help. Seeing that no one had opened the door for a long time, he left. However, there was one person who lingered around, sneaking and knocking on the observation door from time to time. Lu Chen watched coldly, wanting to see what the other person was up to. This evening. Bang! Lu Chen was practicing his boxing in the room when he suddenly heard a slight sound of landing. His heart trembled as he silently put away his fist and looked out through the crack of the door. Under the high wall, a man wearing a hood tiptoed towards the room, pushing open the doors of each room. Explore your head and mind, be careful when looking around. Soon, this person arrived at the left side of Lu Chen's residence. Jiya, the door pushed open and the man quietly walked in. Brush. On the beam of the house, Lu Chen suddenly jumped down. Just as the opponent was about to punch, he was kicked in the neck by Lu Chen, snorted, and fell straight to the ground. That's it. Lu Chen landed steadily, feeling a bit uncomfortable for a moment. He reached out and pulled off the other person's hood, his face slightly changing. Monk. Changchun Temple. Changchun Temple is located in the northeast corner of Fengxian town, in a remote area. Changchun Temple is located in the south. One is a private Taoist temple, cold and quiet, while the other is bustling with incense, one in the south and one in the north. It has never had any grudges or grievances. Let's have a trial. Lu Chen sighed and found a rope to tie the other party up. The night was deep, and Lu Chen was still practicing Changchun fist, sweating profusely and panting heavily. It wasn't until midnight that he finally stopped and muttered, "Finally, I can level up again." Changchun fist upgrade conditions. 1 3 days of practicing boxing, achieved. 2 10 spirits, reached. 3 liang of gold, achieved. Name. Lu Chen, fist technique. Changchun fist mastery, upgradable. Plus, upgrade. Lu Chen didn't delay either. He just reached out a little bit. When everything calmed down, the authentic Changchun fist had reached its peak, with more than 600 pounds of strength and unprecedented changes in data. Name. Lu Chen, fist technique. Changchun fist is perfect, upgrade conditions can be expanded and can be selected. Expand. Changchun fist promotion conditions. 1. 5 spirit sands, not achieved. 2. 100 pounds of flesh and blood, not achieved. Changchun fist advanced conditions. 110 spirit sands, not achieved. 2. A martial arts manual, not achieved. 3. 100 pounds of flesh and blood, not achieved. 2 choices. One is promotion, and the other is promotion. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Immortal Changchun Merit. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Immortal Changchun Merit. Changchun fist can be upgraded to the non-advanced, secret level, fist technique, or simply upgraded to the first level practice Qi realm method. The secret level fist technique may have greater potential, but Lu Chen urgently needs self-protection now. I prefer to be promoted to a higher level. But it's not urgent either. If you want to advance to the next level, you need another martial art. It should be around now. With a murmur, Chen left the left wing and walked towards the right wing. As soon as he arrived at the door, he heard a sobbing sound coming from within. The right wing was sealed off by Chen. It turned into a small black room. This person has been locked up for half a night and can no longer hold on. Chen walked into the room with an oil lamp in his hand. With a loud bang, he closed the door, pulled off his stuffed stockings, and pressed the lamp onto the other person's face, revealing a face full of fat and panicked ears. Name. Hui Neng. Where do you come from? Bang. Where are you from? The withered cicada bid farewell to the courtyard. Huineng, at the age of 23, is a visiting monk from Changchun Temple. He has been in the temple for 5 years and has practiced Vajra fist and Kagya hand. His identity is slightly better than that of a novice monk. Still considered as the bottom layer of Changchun Temple. The other party is directly obedient to the knowledgeable guest in the guest hall, Grand Monk Yuanjin. This time, the task is to monitor the Changchun Temple and explore its reality. And the foundation of the entire Changchun Temple was completely exposed in front of Chen. Changchun Temple has hundreds of monks, divided into 3 levels. Grand Master. Great Monk. Monks and Monks. Monks and monks are considered the lowest level, while the Great Monk is the middle level. He practices the method of forging his body, and his strength varies from strong to weak. The strong can rival the Great Monk, and the weak can also compete with 10 people. As for the Great Mage, those who practice Dharma or dual cultivation of body and technique are highly respected masters who have achieved success in practicing Qi. Yuanjin. Chen frowned deeply. This Yuanjin's strength is not weak. It is said to be on par with the great master of the Qi training realm, and I don't know what the other person is plotting. However, it is not difficult to guess that it is mostly a relic of plotting against the Qingyun Taoist. It's not the Dharma, it's the magic tool Peachwood sword. Fortunately, since the other party has sent someone to inquire, they probably don't know the exact news of Qingyun Taoist's death yet. He still has time to arrange, and there is also the Zhenbing mansion pressing down on it, so the other party dare not be too bold. After a series of threats and intimidation, Chen successfully obtained the training techniques of Diamond Fist and Jiayi Fist, leaving only the last condition for advancing to Changchun Fist, which is 100 pounds of flesh and blood. The small black room suddenly quieted down. Chen hesitated and glanced at Master Huineng. He weighed 100 pounds of flesh and blood, and the chickens and ducks he had killed in the past few days were definitely not enough. So there were only 2 options left. A wise and capable person. A live pig. Fat pigs have more love, and he is reluctant to let go. Between life and death, Huineng felt a sensation in her heart and almost fainted in an instant. Her bound body trembled like a sieve, and she exclaimed in shock. "Don't kill me. I have something else to say." Chen smelled a smell of feces and urine, took 2 steps back in disgust, and said fiercely, "If you have anything to say, just say it, and then procrastinate." "Kill you. I said, I have been cast a spell on me, and if you kill me, you will also suffer." "Oh." Chen raised his eyebrows and became interested, then asked. "What technique?" "Evil magic. I don't believe it's true or false." Chen held an oil lamp in his left hand and a short knife for slaughtering ducks in his right hand, thrusting forward. Huineng, almost scared to death, collapsed and burst into tears. "Woo, I really don't know. I was instructed to do anything harmful. Last month, I helped him bury a young lady. A few days ago, I helped him abduct a pretty nun. Yesterday, he called me into the room, drawing symbols and puncturing needles. He told me not to be afraid, even if I die, I can't escape his palm. Woo tisk tsk. What a dry cicada temple." Chen's face turned cold. This round and great monk is really good at playing, and he is both a young lady and a pretty nun. Humph, it's really despicable. This Huining may also be someone who helps Zhou commit evil. Poor enough. Damn it too. However, Lu Chen still had some concerns about that sorcery and couldn't escape either. Let's wait until he upgrades. Coming out of the right wing, Lu Chen headed straight for the pigsty with a knife in hand. Second senior brother, I'm coming to see you. Humph humph humph, pushy, humph, 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 humph. Second senior brother weighs more than 200 pounds, and his strength when he works hard is even more terrifying. So, Lu Chen is not as good as before, and he puts one hand on second senior brother's head, allowing the other person to struggle desperately. Still stable and motionless. After tossing and turning half a pillar of incense, second senior brother finally took his last breath. It's done. Lu Chen put down his short knife, took out a porcelain bottle from his arms, and carefully poured out 10 spiritual sand. The light curtain in front of him suddenly changed. Changchun fist advanced conditions. 110 spirit sands, achieved. 2. A fist technique, completed. 3. 100 pounds of flesh and blood, achieved. Name. Lu Chen, identity. Master of Changchunguan Temple, practice. Omitted, spell. Nun, spirit root. Pseudo-spirit root, palm technique. Kasayapa hand has not yet started, upgrade conditions can be expanded. Fist technique. Diamond fist has not been introduced yet, upgrade conditions can be expanded, Changchunguan is perfect, can be promoted. Plus, I'm so excited, I'm going to be promoted. Lu Chen's heart was pounding, and he didn't have much knowledge about Jinjie. He only knew that there was a path to extraordinary life, which was also the beginning of immortality. In the past, the original owner couldn't ask for it. Now he is about to enter. Jinjie. Lu Chen took a deep breath and pointed towards, plus. The spirit sand was crushed into powder, and the second senior brother lost nearly half of his flesh and blood in thin air. A shivering sensation rushed towards the heavenly spirit, and Lu Chen couldn't help but tremble. His whole body began to heat up, getting hotter and hotter, like a big stove, so hot. My throat is also starting to itch, so itchy. Cough cough, Lu Chen couldn't help but cough, which was heart-wrenching and lung-wrenching. Pushy. Then he opened his mouth and spat out a large mouthful of black blood, as if his body had broken through an invisible boundary. In an instant, all things were quiet, and heaven and earth were clear. Jojo, sha sha sha, pulingaling, hee, this fool just helped me cut half of the rope, haha. Surprisingly, the door is not even locked. Wait, when I can escape, I will definitely call Uncle Yuanjin. I want you to die or die. Crickets chirped softly in the corner. The multi-legged centipede crawled rapidly under the dry grass, and a gray and white short-tailed sparrow flew over from the night sky, holding a winged black bug in its mouth. In the right wing room, Master Huining was ecstatic, muttering and suppressing. Quietly opened the open door. Everything was so clear that it weakened many times in an instant. Pai Li Pa, Lu Chen clenched his fist vigorously, and his bones let out a loud roar. His exposed skin showed an abnormal black-red color, and his eyes became very bright. He looked up at the night sky, which was no longer completely dark, both surprised and happy, and murmured. Not old. Changchun Gong. Name. Lu Chen, identity. Master of Changchunguan Temple technique. Beginner level of Immortal Changchun skill, upgrade conditions can be expanded. Spell. Nun, spirit root. Pseudo-spirit root, palm technique. Kasayapa hand has not yet started, upgrade conditions can be expanded. Changchunguan Jinjie has become a first-order ordinary level forging technique called Not Old Changchun skill. Due to the inheritance of the same lineage, it can be directly introduced and the body undergoes all-round transformation, with every move and gesture. 1,000 pounds of immense strength. He didn't have much insight into the changes in his body. He grabbed a short knife stained with pig blood, walked out of the pigsty with a tense face, and turned around to see Master Huining tiptoeing over the wall in the dark. Die. Lu Chen gave a cold smile and shook his hand, throwing out the short knife in his hand. Pushi, the short knife spun and flew out for nearly 10 meters, then plunged into the back of the opponent's head, straight into the small part. Monk Huining fell down the courtyard wall with a thud, his body twitching as he looked towards Lu Chen. He, you. Did you do it on purpose? Lu Chen walked slowly, without saying a word, silently looking at the other person, as if looking at a dying prey. Ho ho ho, I'm dead, and you can't live either. I've been hit by Uncle Yuanjin's ghost report. Huining's face gradually became ferocious, and he gritted his teeth and said. You. You're going to bury me. As he finished speaking, his expression froze in vain, but his mouth grew bigger and bigger. The corners of his mouth were torn apart, blood gushed out, and a dark Yin character protruded from his forehead. The character Yin twisted violently, as if something was about to break free. Cute new seeking support, seeking collection, seeking follow-up reading, whimpering, end of this chapter. Chapter 4. Selling chicken, not shaming people. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Selling chicken, not shaming people. The longer Huining's mouth grew, the more terrifying it became, as if it were a blood hole, directly swallowing her own head. A black mist-like thing finally broke free. Woo-woo, the Yin wind howled and black air surged. Huining's body collapsed on the ground, and the black mist highlighted the ferocious face of Huining monk. He laughed wildly, howled, and rushed straight towards Lu Chen's face. The ghost report. Lu Chen showed no fear and looked calmly, as if looking at something novel. It wasn't until the black mist rushed in front of him that he suddenly opened his mouth and spat out. A dark red wave surged out, a foot away from the mouth, and the black mist collided with the red wave, melting rapidly like ice and snow. No, Master Huining let out a mournful scream, and in the blink of an eye, there was no trace of the black mist melting under the red waves. Lu Chen opened his mouth and took a deep breath. The wave of air returned to his mouth, and he smiled in the sun. That's it. You know nothing about me. The thing he just spat out is called pure yang breath. Since the introduction of the elder Changchun skill just now, there has been an extra bite. It has little power, but it is the most effective way to restrain ghosts and evil. When the pure yang breath reaches 9 bites, it can achieve the pure yang body. The breath of pure yang. 9 mouths. Pure yang body. Lu Chen is looking forward to this. In consideration of contributing 2 methods, Lu Chen buried Huining's body under the big locust tree in the temple, and endured the foul smell before tidying up the right wing room. Only then did he look at the light curtain in front of him and extend his hand. Expand. Conditions for upgrading to Changchunguan. 1 practice for 3 days, 0/3 not achieved. 2. 3 undead souls, 1/3 not achieved. 3. 10 spirit sands, 0 out of 10 not achieved. Undead souls. The soul that was originally needed has turned into a dead soul, because I just killed Huining and have already collected one. In this case, it seems that killing chickens and slaughtering ducks is not feasible. The term undead soul mostly refers to human beings, while chicken and duck refer to spirit and soul. Lu Chen, lost in thought, turned his gaze to 2 chickens and a duck, which were the only 3 little ones left in the Taoist temple after being cursed by him. It's so cute, I can't bear to part with it, but I still need to confirm. Gaga, after a moment, the last duck resisted fruitlessly and fell into a pool of blood. Only 2 trembling chicks remained in Nuoda's Taoist temple. Pairs in pairs, neat and tidy, it's okay. Lu Chen nodded with satisfaction, as if he were a great demon king. Looking at the unchanged data, he finally confirmed his guess. Undead soul equals dead person spirit and soul equals chicken and duck. Bulao Changchun Gong is a body forging technique, which is currently the main focus of Lu Chen. Due to the need for undead souls, it may affect the cultivation progress. However, other techniques also need to be improved. Diamond Fist has been integrated into the Immortal Changchun technique. Although the memory is still there and one can practice it, it no longer appears on the screen of light. There are still 3 types of skills that he can improve. Expand. 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 Upgrade conditions for Qi refining technique. 1. Practice diligently for 50 days, 1/50th not achieved. 2. 5 Spirit Sands, 0 out of 5 not achieved. Conditions for upgrading the Sutra of Pure Women's Secret Path. 1. 1 layer of Qi cultivation, not achieved. 2. 1 Taoist couple, not achieved. 3 double cultivation 10 times, not achieved. K hand upgrade conditions, 1 practicing palm for half a day, not achieved. 2 10 tails of silver, not achieved. The requirements of the Sutra of Pure Women's Secret Path are quite strict and do not currently meet the conditions for committing crimes. Therefore, we will not consider it for now. Due to the comprehensive improvement of the body, the entry requirements of the practice Qi technique have been reduced by half. A little effort would take less than 2 months. Just. The condition of practicing diligently for 50 days is a bit difficult. In recent days, Lu Chen has actually tried every day, but due to not being diligent enough, it has only been counted as 1 day's progress. It seems that he still needs to work hard. Strive to meet the requirements every day. As for the Kasayapa hand, Lu Chen has no appetite. A mediocre palm technique that is not advanced will only provide him with a small improvement. Let's go with it. Not old Changchun Gong. Practice Qi technique. These 2 goals can be considered as Lu Chen's next 2 main attack directions. After calculating, he began to organize his entire value. A Changchun temple. 100 pounds of black pork. 14 pieces of chicken and duck meat. 2 chicks. 5 taels of silver. 21 pieces of lingsha. A magic tool, a peachwood sword, a token, and a letter. Sigh, there's not enough upgrade for now. Now his strength can barely protect himself, and he has a pure yang breath that specializes in suppressing ghosts and evil. He also knows the mastermind behind it, so it can be said that he finally breathed a sigh of relief. Next, there is no need to worry. Wash yourself up. It's already past midnight, and it's almost 4 o'clock. He doesn't want anything else, so he lies in bed and has a good night's sleep. Sleep until dawn. The next day, Lu Chen changed into a simple Taoist robe, wore a short knife on his waist, held a peachwood sword wrapped in cloth, carried something on his back, and opened the observation door for the first time. Jiya, the old wooden door let out a groan, and Lu Chen staggered out of the Taoist temple. Looking back. On the mottled gate of the temple, there was a long, slanted plaque with the words Spring View written on it, which made people imagine it vividly. As for the first, long, character, it had long disappeared. The elements of the law cannot be separated, and emptiness is not emptiness. Useful in use, useless in use, and reactive in work, silent and noisy words are the same as the original. How could a dream be said in a dream? If it's ripe and naturally red, don't ask how to cultivate it. Lu Chen hummed a convoluted Taoist poem and walked through the streets, heading all the way towards the market. Long time no see, little Taoist. Good morning, layman. Little Taoist, where's your master? I haven't seen you for several days. My master is currently in seclusion and I won't see any outsiders. Leaving the remote northeast corner, I met more and more pedestrians. From time to time, acquaintances greeted Lu Chen, and Lu Chen had to stop and salute. The banditry a few days ago seemed to have gone far away. After a long time, finally arrived at the bustling market. He found an empty space, put down his things on his back, arranged them neatly, sat on the ground, and waited silently. Little Taoist, how do you sell this chicken? 50 copper plates per piece. Oh, it's so expensive. The old hen that has been raised for several years, the man who ate it has become strong and strong, the woman who ate it is as beautiful as a flower. Auntie, if you eat it, you can at least be 3 or 5 years younger, not at a disadvantage. Look at your little mouth. Okay, Auntie bought it. Auntie's arrogance. Yes, Lu Chen is selling chicken, duck, and pork, which has been delayed for a few days. He can't finish it, and if he puts it down again, it's afraid it will spoil. It's pure waste. His master has already practiced qi for 3 layers and has also done this kind of activity, which also relies on firewood, rice, oil, and salt. Ordinary fireworks are the most soothing. Cultivating and being ordinary, this is the life of the lower-level cultivators. Selling chickens is not embarrassing. Half an hour had passed, and most of the chickens and ducks had already been sold. At that moment, a woman appeared on the street, attracting the attention of many people. The woman walked slowly. Mature and charming. Protruding at the front and tilting at the back. Graceful posture. On her head was a phoenix head adorned with golden ornaments, and on her shoulders was a snow-white fox fur. With delicate hands, she held a mandarin duck silk handkerchief. Her waist was plump, and her bare hands seemed boneless. Beautiful appearance and graceful posture. The woman walked with a gust of incense and bowed to Lu Chen, saying in a coquettish voice. Little Taoist, where is your master? What's the matter with the female laywoman? My family lost Ying for 2 days. I am willing to pay 5 taels of silver. Can your master help me find it? Who is Ying? My little fox at home. Sorry, my master is currently in seclusion and cannot meet guests. Okay then, the woman left in disappointment, and Lu Chen widened his eyes, staring closely at the graceful figure of the other person. The fragrance lingered and swayed until it disappeared. Before he withdrew his gaze with a deep expression, his master was able to accumulate dozens of spiritual sand thanks to a single skill, the round light technique, which is the most convenient for tracking and tracing. It can be used in many places. In his spare time, he also takes on small tasks for 5 taels of silver each time, which is worth his master's spell. Unfortunately, he hasn't learned yet, so he can only sell chickens. However, this woman is different. There is a big problem. Because she walks without touching her feet. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. The Bustard of Honglouyuan. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 5. The Bustard of Honglouyuan. Lu Chinli had a weight of 1,000 pounds, and his body had broken through a certain boundary. He had steadily stepped into the first-level threshold and had a comprehensive improvement. His eyesight was excellent, and he noticed that the woman was walking with a very small distance between the soles of her shoes and the ground. Keep your feet free from dust. Monsters, demons, ghosts, or even cultivators. Or rather, was it sent by Grand Master Yijin to explore? Beauty trick. In an instant, Lu Chen thought of many things. Seeing many people around who were still mesmerized and couldn't come to their senses, they quickly grabbed a big man with a beard and asked. Big brother, can I inquire about something? Mud playing Kai, the big man looked impatient and wanted to reach out to pry away Lu Chen, only to find that the little Taoist, who was half a head shorter than him, remained motionless. His face immediately panicked. You ask. Who was that extremely beautiful woman just now and where did she come from? The big man breathed a sigh of relief and quickly replied. She, from the Red Chamber. Red Mansion. Where is that? Lu Chen frowned slightly, even more puzzled. At this moment, a woman walked by and chuckled lightly, "You're really a pure-hearted little Taoist. You don't even know where the Red Chamber is. It's the only brothel in Fengxian town, full of shameless women." A brothel. Lu Chen opened his mouth and muttered, "Hua Kuei." The woman had already left, and the big man replied with a loud voice. "Old madam." "The madam." Lu Chen widened his eyes and looked puzzled. After some questioning, Lu Chen finally found out the exact identity of the other party. The madam of the Red Chamber Garden, named Jiang Hongyi, was a top-notch woman who made men afraid and women jealous. Men are afraid. It's because if you offend her, you won't be able to enter the Red Chamber Garden again. Women are jealous because she's too beautiful, so beautiful that even women feel ashamed of themselves. Lu Chen was still young, so he had never heard of the other party's name. Jiang Hongyi, this woman is probably not simple. Lu Chen breathed a sigh of relief, regardless of whether it was simple or not, as long as it was not with Master Yuanjin, it was a good thing. A morning's time. Lu Chen sold everything in exchange for 6 taels of silver and 72 copper coins, which barely made up for the cost of upgrading the Kaya hand. He had a meal of lamb noodle soup at the market. After shaking for a while, I finally returned to the Changchun temple. In the afternoon, Lu Chen took off the plaque on the door and drew a long character with charcoal before hanging it up satisfactorily. Then, he practicing the hand of Jia Yi. While practicing the eternal Changchun skill. After undergoing transformation, the core of Changchunguan is actually a set of movement skills, which require the coordination of breathing, movement, and thought, and none of them are indispensable. Only in this way can the body be tempered and the muscles and bones be cracked. Suo Xing Lu Chen is a direct beginner. The most difficult step is effortless for him. The sun is setting in the west. Lu Chen was focused on practicing the Kaya hand, and in the blink of an eye, he could almost see the shadows. This Kaya hand is a continuous palm technique that emphasizes hitting quickly. Finally, it was like 100 palms coming out together. When the sunset set, Lu Chen withdrew his palm posture and grinned. "I can upgrade again. K-hand upgrade conditions, 1. Half-day palm training, achieved. 2 10 taels of silver, achieved. Name: Lu Chen, palm technique. Kasayapa hand has not yet started, can be upgraded. Plus, upgrade. Compared to last night's advanced stage in Changchun, the beginner level of the K hand appeared to have no waves. If it weren't for a deeper understanding of the K hand in his mind, he would have suspected that he had been deceived by Master Huaining and practiced fake K hand. A little is better than nothing. Lu Chen sighed, but with the deepening of Kaya's hand cultivation, I believe there will also be some effects in the future. Expand. Reaching out a little light curtain, several lines of data extended out. K hand upgrade conditions, 1 practice palm for 1 day, not achieved. 2. A spirit, not achieved. 3 10 taels of silver, not achieved. I need my soul now. Lu Chen muttered, his gaze fixed on the 2 little chickens inside the chicken coop, showing a gentle smile like a big demon king. The short knife had just been drawn out. Bang bang bang. A sudden sound of knocking on the door rang out, and I only heard the shouting outside the door. Jingbing Mansion official, open the door quickly. Jingbing Mansion. Lu Chen's body paused slightly, with a hesitant expression on his face. This Jingbing Mansion is a violent organization that has always been dominant in its actions. It can be considered the ruler of over 50,000 people in the entire Fengxian town. As for why? Because they have strong fists, they control the 2,500 soldiers in the garrison. These town soldiers are not soft-footed shrimp. They practiced General Sha, 1 by 1, condensed that a soldier Sha, through fighting, and used the weapon Sha to beat and burn their bodies, rapidly improving their strength, like little calves. He has a bad and hard temper. Although Changchun Temple is quite powerful, it is actually like a little lamb in front of the Zhenbing mansion. However, they also have flaws. Those who practice General Sha not only fail to increase their lifespan, but also lose it. In later years, their strength is usually greatly damaged. Additionally, after practicing General Sha, their body will leak air like a sieve. I can no longer practice Qi and cultivate immortality. Bang bang bang. I guess the Zhenbing mansion has learned the news of my appearance and can't hide anymore. Let's meet once. After some contemplation, Chen felt that he should meet again. After all, besides causing some trouble for his little cutie, he had not done anything wrong. Jia, putting down his short sword, Chen opened the observation door and saw two small giants who were close to 2 meters tall, like door gods, wearing dark brown armor on one side and long knives on the other. One of the soldiers said with a stern expression, "Little Taoist, come with us." What happened? Chen was startled and almost turned around before running away. He quickly asked, "What's going on?" "Regarding your master." "My master?" "My master is in seclusion, we don't see any outsiders." Humph! The soldier's nostrils emitted half a foot of white air, and he let out a cold snort, speechless. "People are all dead, which door should we close?" Dead. Oh, it seems like he did die. This town's military mansion is in charge of Fengxian town, and the news is indeed well informed. Chen still felt a bit uneasy and asked, "Soldier, what's going on? Let's get some information." "Good thing." "What good thing?" "Do you know that your master is enshrined under the name, Zhenbing Mansion?" "I know some." Chen nodded, and the Qingyun Taoist would visit the Zhenbing Mansion every 3 to 5 days because he knew the round light technique. He could purchase the magic tool Peachwood sword, and his head was all from the Zhenbing. "I didn't tell him exactly what to do. Your master has made a contribution in blocking the Mist Taoist this time, and the higher authorities are preparing for you to inherit his position of worship." Chen looked a little embarrassed. The robber attacked from the northeast direction and collided head-on with the small Changchun temple. His master, Qingyun Taoist, fought his life to save the original master, but was still defeated by Wu Taoist. He was killed in 3 moves. Is this also considered meritorious? Chen was a little guilty about this. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Worship, Night Raid. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Worship, Night Raid. Seeing that the soldiers were not lying, Chen didn't ask any more questions. Bring your personal belongings and follow the 2 soldiers towards the Zhenbing mansion, passing through the streets and alleys. Soon after, you arrive at the center of Fengxian town, in front of an imposing mansion. There are 3 large gilded characters written on the door plaque. Zhenbing Mansion. At this moment it was already late and there were still 4 armored and sharp soldiers guarding the entrance. In front of the door lay 2 stone tigers, with 2 blazing braziers on their heads. The guarding soldiers checked the tokens, and Chen looked around and followed the 2 soldiers into the soldiers' mansion. Flying eaves with upturned corners. Red walls and green tiles. The atmosphere inside the Zhenbing mansion is tense. Everywhere were burning torches, as bright as day. The 3 of them walked slowly along the way and soon arrived at a school field. The 2 soldiers remained silent and left, leaving Chen alone. There is a round table on the school field, and a few people are pushing cups and changing cups. As Chen approached, a young man immediately stood up and welcomed him. He was dressed in ordinary clothes, unlike the people from the Zhenbing mansion. He looked up and down at Chen and asked lightly. "Are you the disciple of Qingyun Laoer?" Chen frowned slightly, feeling unhappy in his heart. After all, he had just arrived for the first time and was not easy to get into a fit. He just nodded silently. The person extended his hand and ordered. You hand over the circular light technique, and the person can leave now. Ha! Lu Chen sneered and asked in response. Are you the town lord? No, it's not. The young man shook his head and looked impatient. Are you the master? Not really. Are you Captain Jia? Are you a sergeant? 10 people become soldiers, 100 people become armor, 1,000 people join forces, and 10,000 people become generals. Although Lu Chen is not clear about the specific positions within the Jinbing mansion, he still has some understanding of the basic knowledge of the Dehao dynasty. The young man's face turned pale with iron. Silent and speechless. Without further ado, Lu Chen bypassed the other party and arrived at the round table, not afraid of the stage. He smiled and clasped his fists. Xiao Dao Lu Chen, new here, I have met all the seniors. In addition to the young man, there were also 3 people sitting at the round table. One of the 3 was over 50 years old, with wide sleeves and a robe, and his hair was flowing, giving off a somewhat ethereal aura. He shook the dust and slapped the head. Poor Taoist Zhou Daozi, the villain just spoke out without a word. Don't blame me, little fellow Taoist. No harm, no harm. Lu Chen laughed heartily. It turned out that Zhou Daozi and the young man were a pair of masters and disciples, and he knew their identities well. Most of these people, like his master Qingyun Daoran, were worshipped by the Jinbing mansion. 2 people remaining. One is an old monk with white beard, and the other is a small bald head with withered eyebrows. They should also be a pair of masters and disciples. The bald head, who is 8 or 9 years old, ignores Lu Chen and lies on the table, focusing on picking a few peanuts. It's cute to be silly and silly. The old monk stared at Lu Chen without saying a word, feeling a bit hairy. After a while, he finally clasped his hands and said. Amitabha Buddha, little benefactor, what a killing power. Lu Chen felt a chill in his heart and pretended to be foolish, saying, What do you call senior? The poor monk Kuchen temple is originally bright. Fu Jizi feels that the wisdom of the original circle increases, Zhou Hongpu Guangzong, Dao Changsheng Zhu. This is the chronological order of Kuchen temple that Lu Chen learned from Master Huineng. This old monk is called Ben Ming, who is 1 generation higher than the Grand Monk Yuanzhen. Most likely he is a great Qi practitioner. Lu Chen's gaze flickered and he said bluntly, What does senior just mean? Old monk Ben Ming lowered his eyebrows without answering, while Zhou Daozi beside him smiled and said, This old monk likes to use his wits. Little Taoist friends don't know, but he has a pair of spiritual eyes that can distinguish between turbid and turbid, recognize ghosts and monsters. Since he said you have killing intent, you must have started killing in the past few days. Killing. Oh, yesterday I slaughtered a pig and killed more than 10 chickens and ducks. That's no wonder. You and I spoke one by one, which helped Lu Chen relax. Before long, the wine and vegetables were taken down, and a maid came up with a wooden tray. She opened the brocade and placed 4 porcelain vases in order in front of everyone, except for the young man. Even Lu Chen and that little bald guy have one. Lu Chen held the porcelain bottle in his hand, pulled out the cork, and saw 20 colorful little cuteness lying among them, which was the spirit sand. This Lu Chen hesitated a bit and immediately offered spiritual sand, which was a total of 20. He wouldn't want to sell himself, would he? The young man's face was ugly, his fingers heavy, and he said indignantly. Why does he also have spiritual sand? At this moment, a cold voice sounded from behind. Because he should take it. Everyone quickly stood up and saluted the newcomer. I've met the general. Lu Chen also stood up and quietly looked back. I saw a figure wearing silver-white armor strode towards me, wearing a white tassel helmet on their head and a long sword on their waist. They had handsome eyebrows and starry eyes, and were extraordinary in martial arts. Moreover, they were actually a woman. It is truly a spirited and heroic appearance. She walked up to the front, glanced at the crowd, and spoke directly. 7 days ago, I personally led the troops to suppress the robbers, but the Wudao people took advantage of the situation and attacked Fengxian town. Fortunately, I returned in time, which did not lead to a big mistake. Everyone knows, why can I rush back in time? She nodded slightly at Lu Chen and said to herself. It's Taoist Qingyun. He timely sent out the message symbol, otherwise the entire Fengxian town will be robbed. With this great achievement, the person has already passed away. His only descendant, how can our Zhenbing mansion not treat him well? Young people are said to be speechless. Even Qiu Daozi and old monk Benming lowered their heads in shame. You know, when Fengxian town was conquered, they were thinking about how to save their lives. Lu Chen straightened his chest. Well, this time he's not feeling guilty. Lu Chen successfully became a worshipper of the Zhenbing mansion, one of the 4 major worshippers. He can receive 10 spiritual sands per month, as well as the qualification to purchase from the Zhenbing mansion. When there are tasks, there are also additional rewards. And you don't have to stay in the garrison every day, it's quite free. The other 3 worshippers are Master Benming of Kuchen Temple, Sanxiu Qiu Daozi, and disciples of Master Benming, the 9-year-old Huang Meyer. This yellow eyebrow is amazing. Born with talent, Vajra can give birth to tearing tigers and leopards at the age of 5 or 6. Nowadays, it is even more unfathomable. In addition, Lu Chen also knew the identity of the female general. She was the biological daughter of the Fengxian town Lord Feng Hong, named Feng Yuqi, and was said to have a talent for swordsmanship. His swordsmanship is extraordinary and extraordinary. It was already midnight and Lu Chen returned to the Changchun temple. After he had worked hard to practice the qi technique for 50 days, it was already midnight. He lay on the bed, tossing and turning all the time, unable to fall asleep, and constantly remembered what he had seen and heard today. Protruding at the front and curling at the back, Jiang Hongyi. Feng Yuqi is handsome and charming. Qiu Daozi. A great mage with spiritual eyes. A silly yellow eyebrow. King Kong and Sword Show. And that ridiculous young man. I don't know how long it took before I fell asleep. In his sleep, Lu Chen felt a pair of small hands groping back and forth on his body, feeling both comfortable and refreshing. He opened his eyes in a daze and saw a charming woman lying on top of him, rubbing back and forth. Protruding at the front and tilting at the back. Naked Luo body. Zhuyuan Yuruan. Lu Chen widened his eyes, straightened up, and almost spat out a mouthful of blood. This person turned out to be Jiang Hongyi, with a front protruding and a back curling face, full of temptation and coquettishness. Seeking recommendation tickets, seeking follow-up reading, seeking support, and whimpering. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Red Chamber Garden waiting for you. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Red Chamber Garden waiting for you. Is this just a dream? Lu Chen's breathing was rapid, and Jiang Hong writhed wildly on her body. She lay on top of Lu Chen and bit him back and forth, opening her mouth to bite him. Lu Chen blinked his eyes. I saw Jiang Hongyi suddenly transform into Feng Yuqi. The fragrance of spring floats. Grasp with profit. At this moment, an extremely strong suction suddenly came from the other person's mouth, causing Lu Chen's blood to surge in an instant. His whole body's qi and blood seemed to boil, wanting to gush out of his mouth. No, no, no. Lu Chen finally realized something was wrong and wanted to break free, but Feng Yuqi bit his mouth tightly. Don't let go and suck wildly. Here you are. Lu Chen gritted his teeth and could no longer feel any ripples. He suddenly spat out a breath of pure yang, which surged out and fell into the opponent's mouth. Ah ah, the other party screamed and flew directly out of Lu Chen's body, revealing its original form in mid-air and transforming into a twisted black figure. The black figure had both hands and feet, no face or eyes, its mouth wide open, and it looked up in the sky, emitting a mournful cry, with fiery red cracks appearing all over its body. It seems like lava is about to erupt. Then with a loud bang, it exploded into pieces. Hoo! Lu Chen took a deep breath, opened his mouth and took a deep breath. The pure yang breath returned to his mouth, but only a small part remained. Unfortunately, there was not enough time, and a glowing figure condensed in mid-air. She is a pretty nun. Tears streamed down her face, crying and laughing. She bowed to Lu Chen. Ying opened her mouth to say something, but there was no sound, and in the blink of an eye, it turned into a rain of light. Disappearing. Damn it, it's the ghost circle again. Lu Chen gritted his teeth, both angry and afraid. If it weren't for his strong control over his body through practicing Changchun Gong, when this ghost took its first sip, his entire body would have been about to leave. Completely transformed into a corpse. It's too dangerous. It's too scary. Looking back now, I still feel extremely scared. However, the previous feeling seemed quite satisfying. Lu Chen couldn't help but recall the scene just now. Jiang Hongyi and Fang Yuqi, one protruding, the other wanting to refuse but still welcoming, felt a bit confused for a moment. He touched his mouth and found that it was covered in blood, and his lower lip was bitten by a ghost. Fortunately, the injury was not severe. Picking up the herbal tea on the table and rinsing his mouth, Lu Chen muttered indignantly. I lost my first kiss. When Lu Chen thought of that ghost, he couldn't bear it. The pretty nun was also a victim, probably because she had been cast a magic spell by Yuanjin called Yin Soul Report. She tried her best to make the ghost, but fortunately, she killed it with a breath of pure yang. It can also be considered as aiding in its liberation. And he didn't have nothing to gain either, reaching out for a little light in front of him. Expand. Conditions for upgrading to Changchunguan. 1 Practice for 3 days, 1/3 not achieved. 2. 3 Undead souls, 2/3 not achieved. 3 10 Spirit sands, achieved. Just killed a ghost and became a dead soul. So, the 3 most difficult dead souls have already completed 2. With just 1 more effort, you can quickly level up again. Upgrade as soon as possible and solve the serious problem of Yuanjin. Having made up his mind, Lu Chen lay down on the bed and continued to sleep, feeling dazed for a long time before falling asleep. Yesterday was the 5th year of Emperor Kong of the Dahao dynasty. Late November. Today is the 5th to last day of November, and the weather is particularly gloomy. Raindrops of Qianqian are falling from the sky. Lu Chen got up early in the morning, practiced the Elder Changchun Gong in the Jia Yi hand several times, and then decided to go out for breakfast. Jia, just as he opened the door, Lu Chen was startled. I saw a person standing outside the door, protruding from the front and curling up from behind. No, Jiang Hongyi. The other person is like a stunning noble woman, holding a red paper umbrella with delicate hands and holding a white-haired fox in her arms. It's like walking from a famous painting. A graceful figure. She has a charming appearance. Lu Chen suddenly remembered the scene from last night. A gentle breeze blew, causing a shiver. Subconsciously, he took 2 steps back and spoke out. Are you a human or a ghost? Jiang Hong pursed her lips and chuckled lightly. She picked 2 moths of eyebrows and hugged the fox in her arms, spinning around. Her skirt fluttered and the spring waves rippled, playfully saying, What do you think? It's good if it's not a ghost. Lu Chen breathed a sigh of relief and saw the shadow under the opponent's feet, then asked again. What's the matter with the female laywoman? Jiang Hongyi snorted lightly and said meaningfully. I heard your master died in seclusion. Thinking of yesterday's closed-door speech, Lu Chen felt a bit embarrassed and shamelessly said. Yes. The other party smiled coquettishly and asked directly, Do you sell your round light technique? Sword Control Technique is a first-order ordinary level spell, while Round Light Technique is an authentic level spell, which can only be compared to the Sutra of Pure Women's Secret Path. Lu Chen didn't want to sell it, but he didn't say anything and perfunctorily said. It can be sold, but it's very expensive. Okay, why don't you come to Honglouyuan tonight? Let's discuss it. Jiang Hongyi finished speaking without hesitation, holding a red paper umbrella and turning to walk towards the way, with graceful and swaying lotus steps. Lu Chen took the opportunity to widen his eyes and stared at the other person's feet, taking a deep breath. Sure enough, it's still not touching the ground. Jiang Hongyi seemed to be aware of it, suddenly turned around and gave a charming smile to Lu Chen, saying in a coquettish voice. Little Taoist, I'm waiting for you on the 3rd floor of Honglouyuan. See you tonight and don't part ways. At this moment, 2 passers-by happened to pass by. Upon hearing this, they all widened their eyes and looked at Lu Chen with an incredulous expression, followed by a meaningful expression. This fairy. Lu Chen murmured and quickly closed the observation door. After waiting for a while, he hurriedly left the Taoist temple and ate 2 large bowls of noodles and sliced soup on the street. Since he started practicing the Changchun Kung Fu, he felt that his appetite had increased significantly. I ate 2 bowls of noodle soup and was only half full. Dong dong dong. Just as I returned to the Changchun temple, there was a sudden knocking outside the gate. Who is it? Brother Dao Chang, believe it, your letter, Jia. Lu Chen opened the courtyard door and saw a pretty little girl standing outside the room, less than 10 years old, thin and small, wearing a patched long shirt. Due to the long hem, it has been stained with black mud and dirt. Because it's drizzling. A pair of small faces that had not yet opened were damp, and the ponytail on his back was also covered with water droplets. Looking at the little girl, Lu Chen vaguely remembered her identity as his neighbor, surnamed Meng. The specific name was not very clear, and there was a nickname that seemed to be called Yao Yao. Her father was a bookworm, her mother died early, and her family was also relatively poor. The northeast corner of Fengxian town is relatively remote. The houses are not adjacent either. They are said to be neighbors, but in fact, they are not close. The other person lives on the street, and the 2 sides are separated by several hundred meters. Lu Chen took the letter and said with confusion. Who sent the letter? The little girl thought for a moment and said crisply, a person wearing a bamboo hat, sturdy. Oh. Lu Chen nodded, not in a hurry to read the letter, and then asked, why are you wearing your father's long shirt? The little girl's expression was a bit low. She lifted her clothes and said gluttonously. Dad is dead. Lu Chen was slightly taken aback, realizing that the bookworm was probably killed by the robbers in the broken city. He pulled the little girl under the eaves, wiped her face dry with his sleeve robe, and said in a warm voice. Is there anyone else at home? And Grandpa? Upon hearing this, Lu Chen breathed a sigh of relief. However, it seemed that this grandfather didn't seem to know how to take care of people. He took scissors from the temple, cut a short section of the little girl's long shirt, put down the scissors, rubbed his empty hands, and showed them to the little girl with a smile. Look, there's nothing, right? The little girl nodded timidly, unsure of why. Lu Chen rubbed his hands again and suddenly opened them, only to see a scattered copper coin in his palm. The little girl widened her eyes and looked around curiously. Lu Chen said, here it is for you. The little girl hurriedly took 2 steps back, timid and afraid to answer. Take it, since you call me Brother Dao Chang, this is a gift for your meeting. You can come to Changchunguan to find me if you have anything to do in the future. Oh, thank you, Brother Dao Chang. Watching the little girl bounce away, Lu Chen smiled and opened the letter, only to find a line of small words written on the paper. Let's talk about the 2nd floor of Zuixian building. Yijin. Although there was no signature or any identification, Lu Chen was still the first to think of Master Yijin. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Yijin forging body work, request for ticket. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 8 Yijin forging body work, request for ticket. Drunken Fragrance Tower is the industry of the Zhenbing Mansion and the largest restaurant in the entire Fengxian town. No one dares to kill anyone there. Yuan Zhen chose to meet at Drunken Fragrance Tower, seemingly considering Lu Chen's thoughts. But is the other party a grand monk really willing to sit down and discuss with him? Lu Chen's eyes were lost in thought. Then he left the Changchun temple, locked the gate, and walked away quickly. Not long after Lu Chen left, a short and chubby figure wearing a bamboo hat appeared outside the Changchun temple. Seeing no one around, he stepped on the wall and flipped over the 2-meter-high courtyard wall. Standing inside the Changchun temple, the person in the bamboo hat smiled proudly and said, "It's just a child with a yellow tongue. I was just using a small trick and got brushed around." Speaking quickly, he ran towards the houses one by one. Kick open the door. Search around. Corner, under the bed, kitchen, bedroom, miscellaneous room. But he never achieved anything. No. Didn't you put it all on your body? Damn it. The person cursed and looked extremely ugly. He was about to leave when he suddenly noticed an additional figure in the Taoist temple. He was startled and saw the person coming, stuttering. "Why did you come back so quickly?" Lu Chen sneered and asked in response. "What are you looking for?" "Find." The person immediately shut up, pressed down the hat on his head, and said suspiciously. "Just yourself. There's one more." "Who?" The person immediately became alert and looked around, as if ready to run away at any moment. Lu Chen grinned. "Huineng. Junior brother. Isn't he dead?" The person exclaimed in surprise and immediately covered their mouth, gritting their teeth and saying, "What are you saying to someone? Indeed, it's not Yuanzhen." Lu Chen's tense body finally relaxed, stomped the soil under his feet and smiled, saying, "I know where your junior brother is. He's right under my feet. Don't worry, you can reunite with him soon." Humph! The person knew that his identity had been exposed, so he shook his hat and threw it aside, revealing a bald head. This was a short and sturdy monk with a ferocious scar on his forehead and a fierce expression. He grabbed the 1-foot-long sword from his waist and said fiercely, "I'm not a weak-footed Huineng." As he spoke, he stepped into a deep pit on the ground with both feet, took 2 steps to step in front of Lu Chen, and suddenly drew out his sword. Sanglong Jidao unsheathed his sword, and with a flash of light, it struck directly at the door of Lu Chen's face. Drink, bang. 2 figures collided, causing Lu Chen to take a step back and cut a bloody wound on his chest. The person took 3 steps back and was punched in the shoulder by Lu Chen. What a powerful knife technique. Lu Chen was on guard, feeling a wave of fear in his heart. This person's strength was clearly inferior to him, but this knife technique was too fierce, with an unavoidable illusion. He fought hard to withstand the damage before blocking the blow. Pushi, the person stared at Lu Chen intently, spitting out a mouthful of blood. He changed the knife from his right hand to his left, and slowly moved around Lu Chen. The two of them confronted each other for a few breaths, and the person shouted loudly, "Take another cut." Lu Chen's heart trembled as he saw the opponent suddenly throw out his sword and turn around to charge towards the high wall. Miso. The sword flew past Lu Chen's ear and landed on the ground. Lu Chen reacted and strode towards the opponent. As they were about to climb the discharge wall, he took 2 quick steps and grabbed their ankle. Release. The person became anxious and hurriedly kicked Lu Chen's head. Come back. Lu Chen roared and pulled hard, causing the wall to be cut off by the man. With a loud bang, he hit the ground and then punched the other person in the chest, flying them several meters away. Then take 2 steps to catch up and step on the opponent's forehead. The person almost lost his breath, his face turned red, and with a thud, he knelt on the ground, hugging his head and saying, "Good Han, spare your life." Humph. Upon seeing this, Lu Chen let out a cold snort and withdrew his strength by 3 points before stepping on the opponent's thick neck. The other party rolled their eyes and finally fainted. Good insurance, Lu Chen breathed a sigh of relief. Thinking about the knife, he was still afraid. He quickly found a rope and tied the other person into fried dough twists. Then he looked at the wound on his chest. I saw my clothes shattered. A wound that was half an inch deep and half a foot long, cut through half of the right chest from top to bottom. The upper body was already covered in blood, but fortunately, it did not harm the muscles and bones, so it was not considered a serious injury. It hurt so much, Lu Chen grinned in pain and quickly brought clean water, cotton cloth, and careful dressing. The monk woke up leisurely, and when he opened his eyes, he saw himself tied to a chair, powerless and unable to move. Meanwhile, Lu Chen was holding his ring sword and gesturing back and forth on him, causing his body to tremble and almost urinate. He quickly begged for mercy. "Hero, benefactor, grandpa. Please spare your life." Lu Chen felt contemptuous in his heart. He thought he was a tough guy before, but he didn't expect to be far behind Huineng. He glanced at the other person but didn't retract his knife. He said coldly, "I ask, you answer, in the wrong place, stomp one leg. You ask, you ask." The monk was almost scared to death, there was not even a hint of ferocity. Name: Hui Sheng. Age: 30 to 30.2 years old. Identity: the withered cicada bid farewell to the courtyard. Huisheng, 32 years old, entered the temple 8 years ago. He passed away by the withered cicada and became a guest monk. He was the confidant of the great monk Yuanjin. I have learned the first level ordinary level technique of Yijin forging body skill, as well as the diamond fist, and the non-advanced authentic level sword technique of Jie Dao. With nearly 700 kilograms of strength, I am just one step away from the level of a great monk. Lu Chen doesn't even need to be punished. Huisheng quickly revealed all 3 methods. The only regret is that Huisheng did not learn all of the Yijin forging body skill, and in the end, he did not know the key to breaking through the first level. According to him, with the help of Yuan Zhen, he only attempted to break through once, but unfortunately failed in the end, leaving behind hidden injuries. After Lu Chen confirmed that the other party was not lying. Painful and heartbroken. Grip your wrist and sigh. Only the last few tricks were left, and this method, which is of the same level as the Elder Changchun skill, was not included. It seems that this is also the last resort of Kuchen Temple to prevent the leakage of the core method. It's really a pity. What a pity. Although he may not necessarily practice, he can definitely use it for enlightenment. Even worse, when Changchun Gong advances, he can also integrate it. Sigh, it seems that he still needs to work hard. Fortunately, there is also an authentic book called Jiedao as compensation. It can also be considered a small gain. Not only that, he also learned some secrets about Grand Master Yuanjin from the other party's mouth. Huisheng's mouth was dry and his eyes were fixed on Lu Chen, afraid of killing him and silencing him. Seeing Lu Chen stand up, he immediately became nervous. Unfortunately, Lu Chen took a light breath, turned around, and reached out to pull open the right trunk door. Just as Huisheng's heart was filled with joy, he saw Lu Chen suddenly turn around and throw out his sword. Pushi. At the center of the eyebrows. You. Huisheng struggled to utter a few words, his head tilted, and he gasped on the spot. Huisheng couldn't close her eyes, and a Yin character appeared on her forehead. Her mouth also began to grow larger and larger. The ghost report. Are you still here? Lu Chen sneered and grabbed Huisheng's body, along with the chair, before throwing it into the yard. At this moment, just at noon, under the scorching sunlight, the ghost report had not yet formed and was completely burned by the sunlight. The souls of the dead are complete. Hee, we can upgrade again tomorrow. As soon as he thought of upgrading his immortal Changchun gong, Lu Chen was overjoyed. He looked at the light curtain in front of him and lightly tapped his hand. Expand. Conditions for upgrading to quit swordsmanship. 1 day of practicing swordsmanship, not achieved. 20 taels of silver, not achieved. Undoubtedly, it is at the authentic level, and the entry requirements have doubled compared to the regular level. Lu Chen was a bit disheartened. It was easy to achieve, practicing swordsmanship in a day, but 20 taels of silver stumped him. He had 41 spiritual sand, but unfortunately only 1 or 2 taels of silver remained. One word. So poor. The sun is setting in the west. Pedestrians are gradually decreasing. Wearing a Taoist robe, Lu Chen wandered around the intersection, looking at the brightly lit attic not far away. He felt a bit nervous, as the young lady got on the sedan chair for the first time. It was not enough not to be nervous. After hesitating for a moment, he gritted his teeth and stomped his feet. I'm risking everything. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Red Line Holding Hands. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Red Line Holding Hands. The Honglouyuan is divided into 3 floors. The first floor is a talent show, the second floor is a 2-person talent show, and the third floor is where the Flower Queen and the Madame Jiang Hongyi live, usually reserved for men. The Flower Queen here is different from others, there is no saying of accompanying guests or early nights. The purpose of existence seems to be not only to perform, but also to simply find a suitable husband for oneself, and then let Jiang Hongyi act as a matchmaker, so that lovers can eventually get married. This approach was naturally criticized at the beginning. Over time, I got used to it. So, people who enter and exit the Red Mansion garden not only for simple pleasure, but also many people fantasize about finding a flower queen to be their wife. At this point, on the first floor of Honglouyuan, there is a bustling crowd. I heard a little Taoist is going up the 3rd floor. I disagree, Grandpa. I firmly disagree. A Taoist who is not pure-hearted and has few desires asked Shuxian, why compete with Grandpa for a girl? Dare to come and beat him to death. Red walls with vermilion paint. Hanging eaves and flying corners. Beautiful and picturesque, with an antique flavor. The flow of people in Honglouyuan was endless. Lu Chen stepped on the 29-level stone steps in front of the door, walked step by step towards the gate, and as he stepped in, he saw a young and beautiful girl in her teens anxiously pacing. Seeing the Taoist robe on Lu Chen's body, her eyes lit up and she quickly welcomed him. Not speaking either. Pulling up Lu Chen's hand, he quickly walked towards the corner gate to the side. Lu Chen exclaimed in surprise. Girl, what are you? The maid is the servant of the mother. The young master can call the maid Qinghe. The young master arrived late, and the mother was already in a hurry upstairs, urging her several times. That's it. As soon as Lu Chen let go of his worries, he saw Qinghe reach out to peel off his Taoist robe, his small hands tickling him. Lu Chen startled. Miss Qinghe, please take care of yourself. Pushi, the little girl, gave a playful smile and explained, young master, don't misunderstand. When the guests on the first floor learned that someone was going up to the 3rd floor tonight, they thought someone had entered Yi's fragrant eyes. Mom was afraid that you would be beaten to death, so she specifically instructed the maidservants to help you change your Taoist clothes. Oh, Lu Chen felt inexplicably lost and murmured. Then there's no need to change the inner shirt. The little girl rolled her pretty white eyes and quickly took off Lu Chen's Taoist robe, changing into a light blue long shirt. She smoothed out the wrinkles on Lu Chen's body, looked around him several times, blinked her pretty big eyes, covered her mouth, and chuckled lightly. Not bad. Not only that, Lu Chen has just turned 16 and his figure is close to that of an adult. Also, due to the cultivation of Changchun Gong, which is not old, the muscles are symmetrical, and the limbs are long and powerful. Suddenly, he changed into a suitable new clothes, and even a hint of amazement. It is not an exaggeration to say that he is a beautiful man. Qinghe no longer delayed and led Lu Chen into the lobby on the first floor. In the center of the hall, there is a round platform with beautiful women dancing on it, accompanied by the sound of silk and bamboo. Surrounded by various teachings, some are pushing cups and changing cups, some are loudly cheering, some are big men with hair tied, and some are weak scholars. There are also shameless old masters. Holding on to the wine, his gaze was lewd, constantly resting on the plump chest of the beauty. What's even more strange is, surprisingly, there were a few bald monks reciting scriptures while their eyes were fixed on the beauty, reciting. Empty is color, color is emptiness. Many people occasionally look towards the entrance, seeming to explode in anger whenever they see someone wearing a Taoist robe. As a result, several serious Taoist priests have been beaten up and fled. Lu Chen sighed. The world is rolling with the hustle and bustle of the mortal world, and we are all on the path of cultivation. The young master has left. Qinghe saw Lu Chen stopping, worried about causing trouble. He quickly grabbed Lu Chen's big hand and walked along the corridor, from the first floor to the second floor, where the sound of luxury could be faintly heard. The little girl blushed slightly and hurriedly pulled Lu Chen's footsteps. Climbing up 3 floors from a secret staircase, I finally breathed a sigh of relief and released Lu Chen's palm. The red glass lamp hangs high. As soon as Lu Chen caught his eye, he saw a white-haired little fox rushing towards him. Just as he was about to squat down and pick it up, the little fox suddenly braving fiercely and baring its small mouth. Yo, not only was it not allowed to be held, but it also blocked Lu Chen's path ahead. The green lotus beside her quickly spoke out. Ying, don't make a fuss. It was his mother who brought him up. Yo, the little fox let out 2 more cries and ran back angrily. Seeing Lu Chen's inexplicable expression, the little girl explained, Ying is very sensitive to the smell of strangers. Men are usually not allowed to come up on the 3rd floor. Oh. Lu Chen was lost in thought, wondering if Jiang Heng was really a fox spirit. He didn't know why the other party had built this red mansion, and it was also built near the Zhenbing mansion. It's obvious. This is with the tacit approval of the Zhenbing prefecture. In that case, there shouldn't be any activities of killing and profiteering, but it's still better to be careful. The little Qinghe girl led Lu Chen through the 3rd floor and quickly arrived at a spacious room. The little girl gave a playful smile and quietly retreated, leaving Lu Chen to look around alone. This room is relatively large and the decoration is very cozy. Carved beams and painted rafters. Copper mirror and silver comb. The fragrance of smoke wafts in the air. The curtains are heavy. Lu Chen took a few steps forward and saw a screen even deeper. On the screen was a semi-transparent ink painting, and a woman was drinking to the moon, holding several lines of poetry. Through the screen, one can vaguely see a runway bed behind, with a figure lying on it. The curve is exquisite. Convexity and concavity are consistent. Lu Chen raised his eyebrows and boldly took a few steps forward. Yo. A few warnings from the little fox sounded inside the screen, and Lu Chen quickly stopped to finally see the lines on the screen. Ling Lu Che, Xiaoyao Gui Wan Feng Pai, Mandarin Duck Tomb, playing under the osmanthus tree in a wine game, the way is heartless and the most emotional, the end of the world, Valentine's Day, like a butterfly flying, breaking the mirror circle, sadness, joy, separation, and reunion, held in the hands of the red thread, sending residual emotions through paintings, expressing aspirations through poetry. Red line in hand. Lu Chen silently recited the lines from the painting, then used his own judgment to vaguely grasp the true purpose of Jiang Hongye's establishment of the Red Mansion Garden, murmuring. Perhaps it's also for cultivation. You have some insight. Zhao Hongye stood up on the bed, lazily stretching her graceful curves, draped herself in a red veil, barefoot, bypassed the screen, and appeared in front of Lu Chen. A pair of seductive eyes looked up and down at Lu Chen, slightly surprised. Yuan protruding at the front and curling at the back, Jiang Hongyi. As soon as Lu Chen saw the other party, he remembered the ripples from last night, and his heart couldn't help but accelerate. Especially the outfit in front of him, which could make people spew blood, he quickly averted his gaze. Cluck cluck, Jiang Hongyi looked at the embarrassed little Taoist in front of her, laughing with a trembling and charming body. Her smiling face suddenly changed, and she scolded, "A vulgar man is hidden from others. Don't curse." Humph! Jiang Hongyi hugged her chest tightly and snorted coldly, disdainfully saying, "It's difficult to enjoy a woman's love. The natural law is ordinary, so there's no need to twist and behave." Lu Chen felt embarrassed and understood in his heart that negotiations between the two sides had already begun. If he could not suppress the other party, it would be difficult for him to take the initiative in the next negotiations. He boldly retorted. "Anyone can tell big stories. If it's true as your excellency said, why is Jiang Hongyi, the grandiose mother of Honglouyuan, still a perfect figure to this day?" You. Jiang Hongyi was both shy and angry, but she couldn't refute. The crispy chest trembled with anger. Lu Chen's heart was settled. The pair of dog eyes he had practiced in his past life did not disappoint him. Thank you very much for the 2 monthly tickets of 2 Yuan 2, end of this chapter. Chapter 10. Matchmaker. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Matchmaker. Jiang Hongyi stretched out her slender hand, and a 3-foot red silk appeared in her hand. With a gentle flick, the red silk wrapped around Lu Chen's waist like a long snake. Lu Chen wanted to resist, but with 1,000 pounds of strength, it was difficult for him to break free for a moment. I understand in my heart. Red silk must be a magical tool, and Jiang Hongyi is indeed not simple. She must be practicing the Qi realm. However, in my heart, I am not afraid either. This place is not far from the Zhenbing mansion, and there is no reason to kill people and silence them just because of one sentence. I simply do not resist and sneer. Why, if you can't say it, then you have to take action. Jiang Hongyi's face was as cold as frost, but she didn't answer. Her red veil fluttered and she flew up, shaking her red silk and hanging Lu Chen on the beam of the house. Upon hearing the commotion outside, Qinghe hurriedly ran in and was stunned at the sight. She quickly persuaded and said, "What's wrong with this? The young master is a guest, so don't neglect him, Mom." Yes, I'm a guest. Don't let me down yet. Get out, it's none of your business here. Today, I must teach this bastard a lesson. Pop. With a flick of the red silk, the knot was firmly drawn onto Lu Chen's body. Ah! Lu Chen let out a scream, his head drooped, and he fainted. This Jiang Hongyi's second whip had already been raised, and she was stunned by the scene. She didn't hit or take it away, and muttered, "This kid is not very useful. I didn't even put in any effort, so that's it." Yo-Yo, the little fox, squinted its big eyes and chuckled under the screen. Qinghe rolled his pretty eyes and complained, "The young master is so gentle and weak that he can't bear the whip from his mother. If my mother doesn't want to let him down soon, don't let anything happen." Okay. Jiang Hong smiled awkwardly, and the little anger in her heart had already dissipated completely. She shook her red silk and placed Lu Chen on the ground. Red Ling had just put it away when Lu Chen suddenly opened his eyes and threw the other person to the ground. Pop, ah. Yo-Yo, as the lingering sound fell, for a moment, the whole room fell silent. Jiang Hongyi's face was almost bleeding, and the little Qinghe girl opened her mouth slightly, unable to believe it. The little fox stood up, her big eyes wide and round. "So soft, young master, please use fruits." The previous incident came to an end, and a girl slightly older than Qinghe walked in. Wenwen remained quiet and placed the fruit tray she was holding on the wooden table. This person is called Qingchao, also Jiang Hongye's maid. Thank you very much, Miss Qingchao. Lu Chen was not polite either. He picked up a peach and took a big bite. It was crispy and sweet, but his eyes were slightly red and swollen, which was the price of impulse. Hee, the green grass covered its mouth and chuckled lightly, and Sher Shiran retreated. While eating peaches, Lu Chen looked at the recliner not far away. Jiang Hongyi on the recliner had returned to her original state, lazily lying with the little fox in her arms, still wearing the red veil. Her slender legs were slightly raised, revealing a few glimpses of spring. Seeing Jiang Hongyi looking over, Lu Chen quickly glanced away. There is a thief's heart but not a thief's courage. Jiang Hongyi snorted lightly, rested her tender right arm, and asked. How have you been thinking? I haven't figured it out yet. When will it be decided? At least tomorrow morning. Lu Chen came to Honglu Garden for two purposes. One was to discuss with Jiang Hongyi about buying and selling the round light technique, and the other was to avoid the retaliation of Grand Monk Yuanzhen. He killed Huixing today. Yuan Zhen, who became angry from embarrassment, couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't personally take action. Only then did Lu Chen reluctantly cultivate the immortal Changchun skill without practicing qi, making it difficult to defeat the opponent. For safety reasons, it's better to temporarily avoid it. Whatever you want. Jiang Hongyi stood up holding the little fox, walked with bare jade feet to the back of the screen, took off her thin gauze clothes, and lay on the side of the show bed. The exquisite curves reflected a stunning silhouette on the screen. What a fairy! Lu Chen muttered in his heart and asked in a voice. What kind of evil skill are you practicing? Pushi, Qinghe, who had just entered, pursed her lips and chuckled lightly. She put down the teapot she was holding and poured a cup of clear tea for Lu Chen. She whispered, Mom is like this, young master, don't worry about her. Inside, Jiang Hongyi was very angry, her chest heaving and heaving. Let out a soft snort. Just ignore it. Lu Chen took a sip of clear tea, took out a porcelain bottle from his pocket, poured out a grain of spirit sand, and handed it to Qinghe. He explained, could you please help me exchange some gold and silver for Qinghe? If there are any expenses here, they can be deducted from it. Young master, after much thought, since my mother has invited him, she is naturally different from those ordinary people, and there will be no cost. Thank you, Mississippi. It's okay, copper coins can be exchanged for gold and silver, but gold and silver cannot be exchanged for spirit sand. It seems that the servants have taken some advantage. Young master, please wait a bit. Qinghe left and soon returned with 100 taels of silver. Lu Chen piled gold and silver aside and chatted with the eloquent Qinghe, taking the opportunity to ask, what's wrong with your mother? She's a monster. Pushi, Qinghe shook her shoulders and smiled, warning. Don't say that, let Mom hear that she's going to hit you again. Mom is a fairy-like character, not a monster in your mouth. Why do you open this red mansion garden? Qinghe carefully glanced at the screen and saw no movement inside, then whispered. Young master, do you know the theory of cultivation talent? I know some. Mom, I heard she also has talent, her name is Hongyan. Lu Chen was speechless for a moment. It turned out that this was the reason. No wonder he wanted to help people get married. It was probably beneficial for cultivation, and the purpose of opening brothels was probably the same. Lu Chen lowered his voice and continued to ask. How old is your mother? Qinghe giggled and joked, saying. Young master, may I be interested in my mother? Well, young master is also a practitioner, maybe it's the Rui Lang gene that my mother is waiting for. Lu Chen felt embarrassed on his face. Cheer, the night was already deep, and most of the glass lamps on the third floor of the Red Mansion garden had been extinguished, leaving only a few lamps reflecting the hazy night. Jiang Hongyu woke up leisurely, draped herself in thin gauze, and secretly looked outside. I saw Lu Chen sitting on a horse with a heavy waist, pulling out his short sword from his waist time and time again, as if he was tireless. Bored, Jiang Hongyu stretched lazily and lay back on the show bed, holding her forehead with one hand and her lower abdomen with the other. Soon, strands of red mist slowly gathered. The little fox on the side sat cross-legged like a little person, its small mouth opening and closing. There is a sizzling sound. Lu Chen let out a mouthful of turbid air, inserted the short knife back into its sheath, rubbed his slightly sour right hand, and murmured. I can upgrade again. Looking back at the screen, I raised my hand and lightly touched it. Expand. Conditions for upgrading to quit swordsmanship. 1 day of practicing swordsmanship, achieved. 220 taels of silver, achieved. Name. Lu Chen, knife technique. Not yet beginner in martial arts, can be upgraded. Plus, upgrade. End of this chapter.